Do not chase dollars, and don't let recruiters talk you into chasing dollars, because it will only end up with you coming back and chasing something else
Chasing more dollars.
almost every single time.
Right.
I don't know what the statistics are, Jordy, but there is a significant amount of veterans that come out of the service, take their first role, and within 12 months, they're looking for another because they skip some of these processes.
You're listening to the 7 Echo Podcast, brought to you by 7 Eagle Group, the place where we highlight inspiring and interesting United States military veterans who have found a successful civilian career after trading in their uniforms.
Hey everyone, Jordy from 7 Eagle. I am fired up today to be talking with a good friend of mine who I've met this year, Jeremy Montgomery. Spent 20 plus years in the Air Force, in the Air National Guard, as a aircraft ordnance, and then also as a recruiter. And since leaving, like myself, got into recruiting and helping our military community connect with great careers. And Jeremy and I have had an opportunity to work together this year, and I can't tell you how much I enjoy spending time with you and helping our country's veterans. You're a senior business developer right now at Fusion Cell, which is a recruiting firm like 7 Eagle, but we're all in this together. So thank you so much, Monty, for taking a few minutes to come on and share your story and give us some tips.
You bet, Jordy. I'll let you guide me through this.
Absolutely. So, hey, why don't we start out with your Air Force career? Talk a little bit about what you did, what that experience meant to you, how it helped you as you transitioned out.
Well, if this is any indicator, I actually sworn in on April Fool's Day in 1998. And then every day from that has just been an amazing adventure. I've had a very unique career. I've been all over the world and done a lot of different career fields into it. So I was in the explosive ordnance side of the house. I did civil engineering for a while, spent a long time in recruiting. But I'll tell you what I learned throughout the process about, I guess, getting to that status of being a veteran was you get introduced to yourself. When you get away from home, you get out there in the real world, you get into these different cultures, you meet different people from, within the military from different cultures as well. You get introduced to yourself, and that's really exciting. So you get to grow up really fast. And then it's almost like you go through this whole other process, Jordy, when you get out of the military and you get reintroduced to yourself. And I think that's the phase I'm slowly navigating now.
Yeah. Where did you grow up, and why did you choose the military as a career path?
I grew up in kind of the northeast corner of Washington State near Spokane. And I didn't have a lot of military influence in my background at all. I grew up on a small quarter horse ranch, and my family was big into that as well as the timber industry. And well, I didn't want to do either one of those. And so for me, I just knew that I needed to get out of town, and I didn't know how to do that. And so a quick story for you, Jordy. I drove into Spokane, which was about an hour away. They had one of those recruiting centers where all the recruiters are lined up down the hallway, And so I went in and I sat down with each and every recruiter and listened to their spiel and their story. And of course, I had heard about the opportunities for them to blow a little smoke, perhaps. And so I talked to all of them. I listened to everything. I drove the hour back home. I slept on it, and I went right back. And I simply asked one question of each recruiter: who can get me out the soonest? Wow. And I just happened to get extremely lucky that the Air Force guy had an ability for me to get out the door right away. And off I went. That's how this whole story started.
Wow. 20 plus years later, you kept that going. That's awesome. Right. What do you feel? What are some of the best things you got out of being in the military for so long? How did that sort of shape the person you are today?
I think I go back to getting introduced to myself. I didn't really know what I was capable of as a young person, and getting exposed to opportunity it just helped me blossom into somebody that could have some foresight, that I could see into the future, that I could start drawing some plans for myself. And so for me, I decided at that point that no matter what it was put in front of me, I was just going to do it the best I could do it. My grandfather always used to say, he said, you got the talking part done. So whenever they would tell me what to do, I would just go try to do it better than everybody else. And I kind of had a little bit of a competitive chip, if you will. I wanted to be recognized. I wanted to be the best one, whether that was sweeping the floors or at that time building bombs. I wanted to build more than anybody else. What I got the most out of that was just understanding my capability and being exposed to enough to help shape my path in life. And that's where I'm at right now. Is I realize that I have the ability to communicate decently and make connections with folks and connect them to some folks that can help them grow and be introduced to themselves as well. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where it came from.
That's great. Well, listen, I've been at this for 7 years, and there is nobody better I've come across in this industry that cares more for the veteran than you. And I think you're extremely skilled at what you do, and that comes through. I know you have your own podcast where you interview people, and you're just always providing tips and guidance and counseling to the veterans. And I know that's what's really going to move the needle for a lot of people. Whether you end up placing them or someone else does, or they get a job on their own. That's that's why I respect you so much for, the work that you're doing. So let's get into it now. You've been with Fusion Cell for a few years. I know, kicking butt, and as their business development manager. Talk, and I know you've communicated with a lot of veterans over that time. Talk about some of your favorite tips or pitfalls for these guys, these men and women, as they're getting into their career. What are some of the things that they should be aware of from your experiences?
Man, step one is doing whatever it takes for your individual process to decide what you want. And if you're not quite sure what that is, to really define what it is that you don't like.
Yeah.
There is a unique opportunity in the military where we've been exposed to enough task skills and abilities and people that we can really define what it is that we don't like. And it can sometimes be that simple step of starting to define that will help people be naturally progressing in that direction towards what they want to do. I started to come up with this concept lately, Jordy, and I'll share that with you. And it's writing your own job description without any boundaries, barriers, stipulations, or anybody telling you what to do. So to literally sit down and write, what is the Monty job description? What does Jeremy Montgomery want to do? What do I like to do? What makes me tick? What gets me excited? And most importantly, what doesn't feel like work? When I'm doing that, what gets me excited? And so you start to fill out this job description. You're not going to be able to do it in one sit down, but you start to write down all of these things that really make you tick, that you're good at, that you enjoy, that challenge you, that excite you. And then all of a sudden you have this filter. You have this system where all these opportunities that come at us from as a transitioning veteran or somebody that's been out for a while, now you've got something to filter that through. And there's only going to be a select few things that even make it through that filter. And so for me, it's developing this concept of who you are and who you want to be, and not be afraid to cut the bonds of our experiences, to make sure that, if I came out as an ordnance guy, I don't pigeon myself into that ordnance position. Now, that may be a perfect path for you and you may be happy with it. That's perfectly fine. But what I found is there's usually only portions of our experience or portions of a job that we really, really love. And then there's always a few that we would probably cut out if we didn't have to do those anymore. So Jordy, my number one piece of advice for folks that are entering this transition phase, or even if you're just trying to find yourself into a new career or make some changes, is write down your job description, whatever that means to you, whatever your process is. For me, it was just really simple. I like doing this. I like doing that. This doesn't feel like work. This is exciting. This means something to me. And then I started to create this job description. And again, it's kind of a new concept I'm developing. And I've been able to share this with a few veterans lately, and they hadn't been spun up with that kind of task yet. And it was received really well. So hopefully that may help.
I love that. I've studied this stuff a long time. I've never heard that approach before. And I think it's brilliant as I'm thinking about it now, because everyone is trained to go look on Indeed or Monster, ZipRecruiter, and go look who's hiring today. And then if you stop and think about it, that's lunacy, because it's so reactive. It's like, oh, here's a job. I'm out of work. They'll pay me what I want. And then you go and interview and take this job that your heart's not in. You're not passionate about it. But what you said just strikes home with me. It's like, wait, don't look at the job boards for a second. First, decide what it is you want, what's going to make you happiest, so you jump out of bed every morning and say, I can't wait to get to work, and then there's magically that stuff, you'll start thinking like that and being exposed to things in those areas. And I truly believe that when somebody heads down that course of their passion, the money will always follow. But don't do it the other way. I love it. That's good. That's a good one. I like that. Good stuff.
Well, hopefully it works for some folks.
Yeah. It's like I was just talking to a guy the other day, a veteran, and he's like, he wanted to be I think it was like in manufacturing, a machine operator or something. We were talking about a job, and I was like, why do you want to do this? And he's like, I don't know, I'm out of work. And I'm like, well, what do you love to do? And this guy happened to love horses, like from your background. And I said, go look, there's so many things you could do in that industry. There's so many different careers. Why don't you do that? Because then you'll be excited to go to work, and you're going to interview better, and you'll make a better impression on the hiring manager. Because it's so easy. Don't you agree? When you interview vets, you can spot instantly who's really passionate about that job and who's just talking to you because they're out of work and they need something,
Yeah, and I want to back up a little bit to what you just said, and to kind of plug 7 Eagle Group, if you will. The fact that you would even take that position to advise a veteran to pursue passion versus staying just over broke with the job, that's a testament to why you do this and why you've been doing it for so long. And so I just appreciate 7 Eagle Group, the relationship that we've been able to develop. You guys are awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Means a lot. I'm just thinking the only thing I would add to your suggestion, your strategy, is tell the veteran money is no object. You're already a millionaire. How would you spend your day if you didn't have to worry about money? Because a lot of times people let the money get in the way of that passion, that picking that career path. And I love it. I think that's really good. That's really good advice. I wish they taught this stuff in schools, like in high school. Why aren't they teaching classes like this? Instead, they got us all programmed to think like you got to be a lawyer or a doctor or whatever. So ridiculous. But anyway, talk about now. A lot of vets, I feel, don't understand the role of recruiters like you and me and what we're doing, and they don't realize they have to get by you first before you're going to present them to your client, who's the hiring company. Talk a little bit about some of the suggestions for them of what they can do to really put their best foot forward when they're talking to you and trying to sell themselves to you.
Yeah, I'll take one step back and kind of talk about my role too as a business developer. So I'm calling companies all across the United States, both big and small, name brands and not so well knowns. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to engage them. And Jordy, I know you do this as well, to say, hey, there's this veteran talent pool that you may or may not be aware of. And let me explain to you what they bring to the table intrinsically. They already have this stuff. You don't have to train this. You don't have to look for this inside of maybe some of your other applicants. This is already coming in, built into their DNA. And they buy into this, and they earmark, or they let us know that they would interview a veteran over somebody else, something to that effect. So here you have a business developer, a recruiter, going out there advocating for you before we've even met you as a veteran. Right. We've secured support from an organization. We know what they want. They told us what they wanted. They're even willing to pay us a fee in order to come find you. There's a good chance that we know what we're talking about when that company says they want XYZ and they would take a veteran or a mill spouse into that. So my advice to you is, when you're working with a recruiter, for one, you got to find one that you mesh with. You got to find one that gives a damn. There's a lot of them out there that do. And there are a lot of them out there that are great at what they do, and they have an objective and they're going to meet that. But your best interest may not be aligned with theirs. So find those recruiters, find those companies, find those organizations that do align with your value system and that will communicate for you and advocate for you. And when you're engaging a recruiter, you have to be diligent. You have to take care of yourself. Nobody else is going to manage your career or your application process better than you. And I'm not saying to not trust somebody or anything else, but I am talking about controlling the ball, staying engaged, communicate well, be clear about what it is that you want and don't want. Don't chase dollars. My goodness, do not chase dollars, and don't let recruiters talk you into chasing dollars, because it will only end up with you coming back and chasing something else.
Chasing more dollars.
Almost every single time.
Right.
I don't know what the statistics are, Jordy, but there is a significant amount of veterans that come out of the service, take their first role, and within 12 months, they're looking for another because they skip some of these processes. So
Right.
find a recruiter that meshes with your value system.
Yeah.
Find somebody that's going to communicate well with you. Be direct and blunt about what it is that you want. And if you don't know what that is, to seek that guidance and have
Right.
somebody help you with that. And if they don't have time to do those kind of things, you're in the wrong environment.
Right. Right. And also to treat communications and interactions with you as if they're interviewing with the hiring company, not to be, lackadaisical about it, not to, show up to a Zoom meeting with a t-shirt on and a baseball hat on, to really put your best foot forward. And because if they can impress you, you're going to push them along to your client and promote them and advocate on their behalf.
Great point, Jordy. And think about if I were to sit down and I met with a veteran that was polished, ready, capable, presented themselves well, versus somebody that showed up and viewed me as a traditional recruiter,
Right.
as a roadblock versus an advocate. And then I go to my client and I talk to these hiring managers, these people that will be making the decision on you or not. And I'm able to go to them with enthusiasm, excitement, understanding, and I'm able to carry your passion forward and already be an advocate inside the company. Because remember, I'm a partner with that HR
Right.
team. I'm a partner with that C-suite. I'm a partner. They've asked me to come in and advocate for you on their behalf as well. So for you to come in and engage a recruiter half-ass, for lack of better words, you're making a mistake and you're losing the potential to have an advocate inside the company.
Right.
You're trying to engage.
Absolutely. Because your opinion when you're talking to your client is going to carry a lot of weight, and it's important to do whatever they can to put their best foot forward with you too. Let's talk now quickly about interviewing. What are couple of your favorite suggestions for veterans when they're going on that interview? You're not going to be there with them. They're on their own. What are some of the things that they should do to really impress the hiring manager?
Step one is to make sure that you understand the job description. This is a cast out from the company, literally telling you what they want.
Right.
To be a candidate that is not fully engaged with the job description is a tremendous mistake and a waste of time on all parties. So first thing is making sure that resume and that job description, that they match well and that you can speak to why you match well to that job description. The next thing that I would say, Jordy, is you must do some research. You've got to get inside that company. I've talked with some veterans and I have told them these things and they haven't done them, and the results are pretty obvious. If you haven't been on the company's website, if you haven't seen some of the news clips that they've got going on, if you're unaware that they just landed a $1 billion contract with the government, if you don't understand their structure, if you haven't made an attempt to call one or two people in the company and be bold, be blunt, and be brave and say, you know what, I'm super excited. I got an interview scheduled with your team. If you've got a couple minutes, I would just like you to tell me about the culture there. I'd like you to tell me about what's going on at this company. What's exciting? How could I stand out? Or maybe you find the person that's leaving that position or somebody else that's on that team and you engage in them. I'm so confused by the lack of forward engagement like this, if we were going to war, if we were going into combat, if we were going and taking a team somewhere, and if we were leading that charge, we would be really educated on where we're going, who we might face, and then we would have all these contingency ideas that we might be able to respond to anything that comes our way. And veterans, we've got to get super good at preparing for that I don't want to call it combat, that's not what I'm getting at, but you're preparing for this engagement. you're interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you, and most of your interview should be done before you show up.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about that too is it's so easy to do. It requires no skill whatsoever to say, you know what, I'm interviewing Monday, it's Sunday, let me spend 5 hours on this. Let me just really dig in there and learn everything I can about this company, the people I'm interviewing with. Like you said, pick up the phone. It's so easy to do. And it's so, people on the other end of that are so impressed. Oh my gosh. Because I would say, I don't know about you, but probably 9 out of 10 people we send out on interviews, you know, maybe they'll spend 10, 20, 30 minutes tops on it. But somebody who spends a couple hours, oh my gosh, the hiring managers are like, oh my, we got to hire this guy. They sort of, all the shortcomings maybe of that person, they forget about, because they're like, this guy wants it and he's going to run through a wall for us. You know, he took the time to call some of our colleagues here. I don't know. It
takes
so
no
easy.
skill to be curious.
I know.
It takes no skill to be curious. You just have to act on it. Be deliberate, be consistent, be authentic, and go get it.
And you'll interview so much better if you go in having spent a few hours. Gosh, you'll be so confident, so excited to get across some of that knowledge that you've obtained, that it's one of my philosophies is like, when they zig, you zag. When everyone else does the same crap, you know, they all, you know, they sit back in the interview, they're like just fielding the questions and they have their canned answers. Like, do something bold, like you said. I mean, gosh, what a better.
I've been on the other side doing the hiring, you know, for interviews like that, and it sucks to be on the other side of the table.
You want to
watching a candidate role play with you. It's just like, come on.
Right. Yeah, it's brutal. It's like, and I, you know, a lot of times I'll say to people like, you know, why do you want this job? Why do you want to work here? And they can't answer those questions. It's just because, you know, or worse, I'll call them, hey, thanks for your interest in this position. And they're like, oh, can you tell me, what was that again? I applied to 50 jobs yesterday. I'm like, oh my God. That's why it takes so little to stand out. Just go a little bit extra effort, you know, and you'll get hired so much quicker at these positions. So that's awesome. I really love that advice. And listen, Mont, to keep up the awesome work you and your team at Fusion Cell are doing. I can't thank you enough for how many people you're helping in the community with their careers. I'm super excited to partner with you, you know, and make even more of an impact. Tell everyone, is there any regularity to your interviews? I know you do a lot. You have some great content on your LinkedIn page, but is there, I didn't even notice, is there a certain day you do those, or how can people go find those to watch some of your tips?
Thanks for asking that. You know, I'm doing a series right now where my videos are absolutely garbage, but the content, the voice, and the advice I hope is somewhat of value. And so what that series is, it's talking about networking and personal branding. So I'm developing this concept of my job description. I'm developing this concept of who I want to be and what I want to be known for. And so my battle rhythm is being developed. But here's the thing: if you're a veteran or a milspouse, and you're finding a lack of success with some of your efforts or the people that you're engaged with, what I want to do is talk with you, see if I can find and bridge any of those gaps for you by either making connections to somebody, or maybe I've got a job directly that I need you for anyway, which is a great win. But my goal with that, Jordy, is very, very simple. Where can I help? How far can I help? And how quickly can I hand off that capability to the veterans without them needing anybody else? So there is no rhyme or reason to it. If you're a veteran or a milspouse or anybody connected in that environment that needs some help, you want to talk to a knucklehead like me, I am open to it. I know a lot of people. I may not have the answers, but I know the ones that do. And so we've been able to help quite a few people by just organically saying, what do you need?
Right. And not being afraid to reach out to people like you. You know, a lot of people want to do it on their own and they have an ego. And I'm like, no, don't do that. You know,
that was me. That was me. Like, I didn't need anybody's help because I was forward. I was blunt. I was ready to go. I had all these skills and capabilities. What I learned is every single one of those I had a deficit in. And by engaging great people, it completely changes the trajectory of how you communicate. It shortens that cycle of your search, and chances are you're going to find something you really fall in love with.
Yeah, that's great, man. Hey, everyone out there, please connect to Monty on LinkedIn. He's very he's on LinkedIn a lot. He's an active user. Jeremy Montgomery, I'll put his name in the comments. Check out fusioncell.com. They have tons of great opportunities for military vets, and like he said, he's more than happy to help you or steer you in the right direction. Monty, thanks again, man. This was awesome.
Jordy, I appreciate it.